Morning, beautiful people.
Good morning.
Morning,
Good
good morning, good
morning.
morning.
Morning. I
Morning.
About this time every year, you've got to start to get your summer music playlist built. Whenever the weather gets nice, you got to have a summer playlist. So I'm in the middle of building my summer playlist. So feel free to send me your songs, and maybe we'll weave them into industry update. All right, it is April 13th. I know there's a lot of panic. Probably not so much in the real estate community because my understanding is most of you file extensions, but the rest of the world files their taxes in the next 2 days. I don't know. All right. Uh, and usually, a lot of people take tax returns and put them into the real estate market if they're getting a refund. Not so much us, but everybody else, right? Needless to say, let's jump in. Anybody got any comments around tax season? And anybody we need to
Yeah.
console
Well,
or
well,
talk off the?
I'm gonna give a big shout out, Brett. Last week, Jess taught a class in Coral Springs Market Center on
Yeah,
taxes. She did a kick-ass job of that class. Um, great job, Jess. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. I appreciate that.
amazing. All right. There's a really large talking point we're going to get into, and we've got a lot of articles about it. But I'm going to give you the headline of the talk before we go through the numbers, because I think I want you to pay attention around this headline. The headline is this: the real estate market is being in different markets are being defined more by inventory levels than geography right now. And the inventory levels are starting to define different real estate markets. Not that they haven't in the past, but it's becoming more of a thing right now. And actually, I'll go here first. So this is home inventory in Florida. And you can see we were really at a deficit of inventory over the last number of years. And then when 2025 came in the calendar sense, we went through a period of time where inventory just started climbing. And I remember saying last year, like, man, we could get really excited about all these listings coming on the market. However, we just hope that the number of buyers show up at the same time. But what's starting to happen is the inventory levels are starting to come back down. And that's not necessarily a positive thing right now. Yet it's an awareness thing. So you can see, like, if the blue line's all inventory, and we kind of peaked this time last year. So if you look, the inventory in our Tri-County area was at 52,000 units in April 2025, and we're probably at a much bigger deficit than that today. So just pay attention as we're talking inventory going through this, because we've got some articles that we're going to get into. All right. So this morning, Broward County 904 active status changes. So there's certainly an increase over the last 7 days, but we've kind of had a few weeks where it just kind of stalled out of new listings coming on the market. We had 228 go under contract and 140 pending. So we're still seeing a good amount of properties go under contract, at least in this segment right here. 240 closed out over the last 7 days. Richard, any comments to set up this conversation before I keep going?
No, Brett, you're under contract, your pendings, combine those numbers, and that's one of the best weeks that we've had.
Yeah.
The closings just backed off a little bit from the couple of weeks before, whether that's an anomaly. I don't know. We'll have to see over the next couple of weeks.
Yep. All right. So Broward County condos, big number of active listing status changes, right? 118 under contract, 116 pending, same kind of comment. These are some good numbers, right? Like that's
Yeah.
240-ish.
Yeah.
And 190 closed. So we're still closing a considerable amount. I'm still seeing triple digits on the expiration on a weekly basis, which is a lot. And it goes to wonder how many of these are being relisted. Does that make sense? Um, and then if we jump down to Miami-Dade single family, there's 724 active status changes. Not a big jump here like the in Broward. 140 under contract, 189 pending. Still healthy numbers here. And 260 closings in the last 7 days is quite a bit for Miami-Dade. And, you know, their typical expireds about 50 a week. If we look at Miami-Dade condos, 979 on the active status changes, 104 went under contract and 120 pending. What's that? 224 or yeah, 224. About the same we've been seeing,
Yep.
maybe a little bit less. And 175 closing in the last 7 days. Let me hit Palm Beach and then let's talk. Palm Beach single family, 837 on the active listing status changes, which it's not a big jump, but certainly holding its own. We've got 207 that went under contract and 117 pending. So 324, uh, maybe a little bit off this week, not a lot. 247 is certainly a dip of what we've been seeing in closings over the last 7 days. And then Palm Beach condos, 763 active status changes, which looks like a little bit of an increase. 137 went under contract, which is a pretty healthy number comparatively to the previous weeks. And then 74 went pending and 179 closed. What do you make of it, Richard?
One of my questions for the condo market, and most of our agents can answer this, are the increase in listings coming as a result of the end of season? Snowbirds starting to head back up north, putting their condos on the market? Or are you seeing this just as the come around from expirations coming back onto the market? Anybody have an opinion on that?
So far, I think I've seen, or the people that I've talked to, including one that I'm doing, it's been from expireds.
Mine have been from
Okay.
probate.
We're seeing
Okay.
the condos back on the market because end of season. We're coming to the end of the season. So, and I looked back year over year, and we usually see that bump this time of year in those condos.
It's a good
Okay.
pickup, Shane. I've always seen the same thing in our marketplace here.
Mhm.
Tara Carter made a comment in comments that she's seeing the same thing, end of season people.
And Frankie, you put in there, you saw a report that said 40% of expireds are relisting. That's typical historic average, right?
I don't know, but that's the stat I have now. So I'm
Okay.
learning. I'm studying the market more now than I've ever done before. So that's
Good.
I will say we're seeing that too. I would say in the last year, or not, yeah, I would say in the last year, we've been the second agent on probably about 5 or 6 listings where it didn't get sold the first time. And we've been the second agent.
It's good. All right, rates. They came down a little bit this week. I don't know what this uh, shutting down the strait this morning is going to do to interest rates this week. Um, I think what we've seen is when oil prices go up, inflation goes up and it tends to trickle into mortgage rates. So my suspicion is we're going to see an increase in mortgage rates this week. Any other beliefs on that? Crystal ball? Come on, somebody else put their foot in their mouth besides me. All right. So here's this article on Housing Wire, and I want to kind of dive into this for a minute. Uh, is housing inventory about to turn negative year over year? So inventory growth fell from 3.2% from a 2025 peak of 33%. So this is what I was talking about. When 2025, we saw a mass amount of new listings coming on the market. And there was, and on one hand, you kind of got excited about that because it was a lot of opportunity for agents. They were putting a lot of signs in the yard, but the buyer demand didn't meet the same increase, which is what caused the market to slow down. But if inventory growth is slowing down, I do believe buyer demand is slightly increasing right now. Depending on what happens with Iran, I said this last week, if it extends for an extended period of time, it's probably going to create neutrality in the marketplace for a while. But if it were to conclude sooner than later, we could find ourselves in a really hot real estate market. If the inventory is not on the ground and demand gets a push on the gas pedal, right? If rates come down, because it takes a minute for the listings to hit the market, and if the buyer demand creates some uh, increase in demand, right? What do you think of this? Yeah, those of you that read this article, what do you think?
And I think we're balancing out in our marketplace right now. And if you go back to the very first charts that you showed, the single family home market has stayed a lot more stable, right? That's your yellow line along the bottom,
Yeah.
right? It's your condos that market exploded quite a bit. Um, Couple of things that went on there over the period of time. Interest rates went up, buyers backed out of the market. So the increase in inventory were homes that were still sitting there. Why was there such an increase in homes? A lot of it has to do with the economics of Florida after the collapse of the building in Surfside and all of the laws and rules and association problems. Buyers were not jumping back into that market. That's behind us now, but we're still left with the interest rates where they were. And yeah, as you said, the war in Iraq, if that keeps dragging on, there was an article I read last week that there are a couple of members of the Fed who are looking at the possibility of raising rates instead of dropping them if inflation in particular stays where it is. And inflation hit, I think it was 3.1%, if I recall.
Yep.
No, yeah, your crystal ball fogged over. Just a whole lot of speculation with what can happen there. And the best thing we can do as realtors, just go out and do what you got to do every day.
Yeah, I mean, I think the comment he's making specifically is if you've been in real estate for any number of years, you felt how low the inventory was over these 2021, 22, and 23. We
Mm-hmm.
got a little reprieve in 24, and then 2025 was that year we just put a lot of property on the market. But what's happening is I think this 2026 line is going to start to come underneath the 2025 line. And when that happens, it's not good or bad. Remember, we're a supply and demand market. So it's the relationship for the number of buyers in the market to the number of sellers looking to sell. So even all that to say, it's not a good or a bad comment. It's more of a relationship comment of what happens to demand.
Hey, Brett, can I chime in for a second?
Yeah, please.
So Zillow is one of our lead aggregators. And when
Yep.
we hold the number one spot in the zip code in Boca, and initially we were getting anywhere from 12 to 15, 17 leads per month. Now, granted, if they went to closing or not is another story, but I'll tell you over the last 60, 90 days, the demand hasn't been there, and I'm getting 5 or 6 per month. I just don't think the buyers are out in the marketplace right now with the uncertainty with the interest rates and obviously what's happening in Iran. So I'd love to say, you know what, yeah, the buyers are going to come back strong, and I hope that they do the second half of the year. But we haven't seen it yet. My phone isn't ringing with those lead aggregators.
I don't think you're going to see it until there's a uh, a belief that the Iran conflict is has resolved to it. And I mean, we all watch the news, and I don't think there's a belief that it's over at this point. Um, but all that to say, I think inventory is going to be what's defining our market going forward. So here's the thing is even if demand isn't as strong, if the number of listings don't go sky high, because normally we have a spring market where the listing inventory climbs. We're not necessarily seeing that. It's kind of flattening out a little bit. And if that happens, it still could create a relationship between supply and demand that you may still see some multiple offers. You may not see a lot of price depreciation that you normally would see if inventory came down.
And Brett, to me, that just means that the buyers that are in the marketplace are just high intent buyers, and those are buyers you want anyways, versus the looky-loos. And
Yep.
yeah, if a house is priced right, we put a house on the market last week, multiple offers, sold at almost asking price. So I still think that's always going to be the case.
Yep. So
And
on the South Florida Business Journal,
one more thing. And on the
yeah,
flip side, there's always a silver lining. There's no good or bad markets. There's just a market, and you have to play to your strengths and the opportunity the market is giving us or providing opportunity wise. And on the listing side, if inventory starts to, fade a little or wane, that's a perfect time to consider listing your house because competition's, the trend line is that it's slowing. And so I would elevate my conversations around people on the fence about is now the time to sell. The answer is it absolutely could be relative to your local market and the immediate competition.
there you go. Steve, you're polite. Just jump in. This group doesn't need you to raise your hand.
Well, I wanted to piggyback on what Richard said, and now Rick just said it, and I 100% agree. And if we were all in a room together, I think the conversation, the energy may have been sucked out of the room over the combo, and it really just comes down to do your job. You may need to talk to a few more people, but go find the ones that want to move. And I want to show you what Jenny made me when I came here to Coral Springs.
Go sell a house.
Gary
There you go.
V, go sell a house, folks. Just shut the
When
hell
all else
up
That's
and
fails.
not
go find people who
exactly
want to
how
buy
he
and
said
sell.
it, Steve. That's not exactly how he
I
said it.
know. I did put that on my wall in the office. Sorry.
Uh-huh.
I was gonna
All right.
put the F-bomb in there, but I figured Steve
Don't
wouldn't.
do that. Don't do that. All right. So another article, you can read through the whole article, but it's on the South Florida Business Journal. It says South Florida housing shortage top 30,000 units. Uh, it needs 30,000 more units to meet demand. What's interesting is Miami-Dade County is the one that's the most acute. They do not have enough inventory to meet the demand in Miami-Dade. But I'll let you read through this. It shows the difference in the three counties. We post this in Circle. Go grab a copy of it, and you can read through this.
Yeah.
Um,
Now, Brett, with that article in particular, what these articles never really get into are specific price point markets.
yes.
Miami-Dade in particular has a whole lot of younger millennials, Gen moving in with a boatload of money. And they've eaten up all of the good inventory. Where Miami-Dade is hurting big time is in that affordability range.
Yeah.
Not so much in Broward or Palm Beach County. but you'll see a huge difference in those numbers if you look at it price point wise.
Well, here you can see medium home listing price per year. Look at the difference.
Yep.
Where Palm Beach is almost 600, Broward's almost 500, Miami-Dade 7.
Yeah, and in the last couple of years, that has you can see Broward, Palm Beach County were always very much on par, but you've had a lot more high-end money pouring into Palm Beach County for the last couple of years than you have in Broward.
Yep.
And that's been
Elsa?
affecting the
I was very proud to say that even during the pandemic, I've never lost a bet on for any of my buyer when I was in a multiple offer situation. Well, it happens to me yesterday on a $13 million cash buyers in Palm Beach, multiple offer, and we lost it. So it depends really in which market and which product you are having, because the money is there. The people have the money to buy.
Yep. So there's an article about the hottest and cold. The comment says that Sun Belt Metro's cool. And what this means is we're probably had the biggest, hottest real estate market over the last number of years. And our markets are resetting a little bit right now. It's really the comment behind this. What's interesting is the Northeast is blazing hot right now. The coastal parts of the Northeast is really hot. I find that fascinating because I think most people want to be in the Sun Belts, but it certainly is a time of reset. I'll just leave that there for now. All right, I really want you to hear this article. So if you think about the phrase, how's the market? You as a real estate professional get asked this countless times on a weekly basis. And this article talks about how to turn that question into actually a lead magnet. And what this author is suggesting, which we've been talking about on this call for a while now, is he's saying you should take the question, how's the market? And instead of trying to fumble your way through it, he's saying every week you should film a quick market update video, a 30-second to 1 minute, just local stats, what is moving, what is not, and one simple takeaway, and then post it everywhere in short form content. You should be doing this anyway. But what his suggestion is when someone asks, how's the market? My response is short and easy. Hey, I actually film a quick market report every week. Do you want me to send you this week's update? And then that becomes a lead strategy tool that pulls people into your network. It forces them to give you their contact information, forces you to give them, whether it's an email or a cell phone or whatever, it becomes part of your lead generation system. Because if you're like any real estate agent in America, you may be at a restaurant, you may be at the grocery store, and you get asked this question all day long, every day. And if you actually systematize what we're teaching you to do is come on this call, take a couple talking points from this call, go record a 30-second to 1 minute short form video every single week, then it becomes a system when you get asked, how's the market? What do you think of that?
I would always respond, it depends. Instead of giving them a firm, committed answer, it just depends on your level of interest, the segment, and the sector you're shopping. Why do you ask? And let them feed you at least enough information to give the most appropriate and compelling answer. And I love what he said. And then immediate follow with, you sound like a student of the game and someone who might appreciate my weekly short form video to keep you fully informed. Does that sound intriguing to you? And then
I
stop talking.
agree. I agree 100%, Rick.
And now you've captured information and now you've created a conversation connection, a tether between you and that potential prospect. If you did 10 of those, can you imagine 10 new people a day that you intrigued to link up with you that you now put into, use AI and some other efficiency tools to communicate and connect? And then pick up a phone and have a real conversation when something looks, an opportunity shows up.
I just want to remind everybody the reason we do this call, it started with Gary Keller probably 15, 20 years ago saying a top agent studies the market on a weekly basis. They just look at the numbers on a weekly basis. So that was really the first motivation in doing this call is let's do the heavy lifting, bring the numbers to our people so they just show up once a week to this call. The second motivation in doing this call is to give you the talking points to go take your week, right? But what he's saying is take the talking points, put it into a short form video and let it be your content. I think it's brilliant. And I don't know that we're all there yet, but I think we're getting there. All right, couple other quick things. Baby boomers have an emerging rival in the housing market. So the simple part of this article is baby boomers are sitting on their homes longer than historically, but they're sitting on large square footage homes. And what they're saying is a normal turnover is where a baby boomer would downsize, the next generation with kids would buy the large square foot homes for the emerging families with kids and all that stuff. And right now, the millennials have a big need for square footage that the baby boomers are sitting on. And I don't know exactly how that problem gets solved outside of the fact that baby boomers living alone or in couples own nearly twice as many larger homes as millennials living with kids do. A dynamic that highlights how the housing market has shifted in recent years. So maybe this becomes a talking point of, hey, if you're a millennial and you need square footage to raise your family, let's have a conversation. I promise you the baby boomers are sitting on square footage that potentially we can tap into. It's certainly a social shift that's happened over the last number of years, but it's also creating a need. There are millennials that need square footage to raise their families. All right. Quick heads up, NAR settled the buy-side commission case on Friday. All you need to know about this, we don't need to go into a deep discussion, but what our industry and specifically NAR is doing, and Keller Williams settled this previously as well, is protecting us as realtors from litigation. And sometimes we have a love-hate relationship with the boards and everybody's like, what's the value proposition? Why do I always pay these fees every year? I will say this is a big benefit to you as a real estate professional, that your industry has your back and is protecting you from litigation. If I'll just say it this way. There was a seller side lawsuit that was settled a year and a half, 2 years ago, and this is the buyer side lawsuit that has now been settled, and it just has given us an opportunity to move forward. That's all. All right, last thing. The real estate easy button doesn't exist. Success in real estate comes from doing the work that others avoid. The author of this article is talking about himself, and he's talking about, hey, when I first got into the business, I quickly realized something important. There were many things happening inside my brokerage that people simply didn't want to do. They didn't want to spend time studying contracts. They didn't want to role play objections. They didn't want to host open houses multiple days a week. They didn't want to practice scripts or learn the legal language of a transaction. So he did. And while others waited for opportunity, I was trying to create it. That work paid off faster than I expected. He's telling his story, but bottom line is everybody does believe today's easy button is AI. And yet today, the new version of the easy button conversation has shifted to technology, specifically artificial intelligence. There's no doubt AI is transforming the way agents run their business. I agree. It is a big deal and it's transforming our business. Yet, if you think AI is going to make the easy button for you to succeed in real estate, you're probably a little misled. AI is going to make you more efficient, but the work that causes you to be successful is still foundational. And it's just one sentence, guys. It's relationships. And there is no easy button to relationships. There is technology that can enhance relationships. There's technology that can uh, put you in a position to make more relationships. But relationships is what makes real estate happen. And I don't know, argue. I'm fine with the argument here, but I thought this was a really interesting article saying there's not an easy button in real estate.
It's not complicated. That's the deal. It's not easy, but it's not complicated. Um, I think number one, job one is to check your energy. If you're feeling the compressed energy that some of the media is throwing at us, and truthfully, some of it's reality, not some of it, it's reality based and where we are in the world. And so what now what? You've got to figure out how to regain some of the mojo you had when you launched your career, where every day was an exciting day because you were going to learn something, connect differently, add someone to your database, have a quality conversation. You know, you just got to build a positive arsenal of energy so that you have something to give that's attractive to the right people. The other part that this article really exposes the reality that you probably did things in the beginning you may or may not be doing today, which is blocking and tackling and connecting at the level you could. I remember Linda Gentry was one of my heroes in the early 2000s. She moved from somewhere in the Northeast to Austin, Texas with, single mom, crushed it year one, rookie of the year in her market area. And she took down an open house that was basically unsellable on a main road and made it her office and put out open house signs and sat there all day, every day, knowing that, no prospect or future client's going to walk into their office, into her cubicle and tap her on the shoulder. And she just did the things others wouldn't do. And so, drive home open houses every single day for a month. Try that. Put signs, lots of balloons, and see what happens when you just open up your doors for business and then bring the right energy.
There you go. All right, guys, there's your update. Happy Monday. Pay your taxes, and we will see you next week.
Thanks, Brett.
Thank
Bye.
you, Brett.
Thank you, guys.
See you guys.
Hi.
Bye.
Bye.